to Labor Lens. I am Sharon Jackson. On this week edition of the program, we'll continue the conversation towards achieving the successful implementation of the new national minimum wage, which was signed into law recently. We also have news stories for you. We will be right back. To advance conversations over energy transition, oil workers in Nigeria are joining the debate with an energy and labor summit. The summit, organized by Petroleum and Natural Gas Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASSAN, is the third in the series. The president of PENGASSAN, Festus Osifo, stressed that there must be a universal salary benchmark for oil and gas workers.
Our summit serves as a platform for dialogue, collaboration and actions, and I'm confident that together we can forge a path towards a brighter and more sustainable energy future for our industry and nation. I call upon each one of you to join hands in shaping the future where Nigeria oil and gas industry stands at a paragon of pliability, novelty and responsible stewardship.
With our collective wisdom and determination, the outcome of this summit will definitely make significant impact on the current state of our petroleum sector. Let us therefore work together to create a more prosperous and environmentally conscious Nigeria, leaving a legacy that future generations will be proud of.
Stakeholders at the event spoke about the theme of the event, the future of Nigeria's oil and gas industry, energy mix, energy security, artificial intelligence, divestment, and crude oil theft.
The issue of energy mix is no more an idea. It's a reality that we are all going to embrace. But how do you fund the other energy sources? You need to raise the requisite dollars, petrodollars, to be able to fund the other energy sources. And you will also agree with me that the surest way to Nigeria's energy security is through the traditional oil and gas sector, which you know, are the experts. And so one of the things we've decided to do from the policy standpoint as ministry is to ensure that every fallow well is utilized.
It was agreed at the event that for sustainable economic growth in the country, there is the need to enhance energy growth.
I believe it should still be on the exclusive list. That's the labor law, because even some governors are not trustworthy. Let me put it like that. They are not serious. They have the money to pay. Look at minimum wage, for example. Some are still struggling to pay the 10,000, and they say they will pay even after making a national law. Because a worker is a worker, whether it's based in the state, local government, or at the national level. So you must treat workers with respect, and that's what they like, not with disdain. So it should remain there, because they will abuse it. If you look at what is happening in the local government autonomy, where some are even against it. If not for the interpretation by the Supreme Court, that thing will be like that. And we'll keep crying. How many people know their local government chairman? Nobody. Few. Because they don't see anything. They just go collect any little thing the state government will give to them. Because the joint account they operate on, state government signs in, signs out. So nothing. So let everybody have this rule. That labor law that we can use to challenge our employers should remain where it is. That's my own view.
As for me personally, I think most of the clauses, that pertains the labor law should largely rest at the concurrent list, meaning you should allow the subnationals to drive the narrative, drive the discussion. Although I may agree that at the level of the national, they can have a minimum, level at which each of the subnationals should build on. But to largely define what the subnational should, discuss around it, shouldn't be driven by the national. I mean, let's take, for example, the minimum wage issue, right? For me, when the national pegs a minimum wage, I mean, the capacity of each subnational may differ. So you're forcing, I mean, we can see a typical example, I mean, since the last president, President Muhammadu Buhari signed the act in 2019 or thereabout, in number of states haven't been able to, effect some of the clauses in the National Minimum Wage Act. I mean, this clearly shows that different states have capacity. So I think we should largely allow subnationals to drive this narrative. But at the minimum, at the national level, the federal can set up the minimum as far as, wage is concerned, as far as maybe sanction policies, issues that border labor. The national can put a minimum, while subnational or state build on that. So each state, there is no issue when each state have its own different, wages it pays its workers. So as for me, I think we should largely, allow subnational to drive most of the narrative in labor laws.
I think the best approach is to, being on the exclusive list, to actually make it exclusively for the federal government to be able to, make changes or adjustments about those labor laws, while putting on the concurrent list will make it like giving the state government the power to be able to do some adjustment as well. But I think rather than just being a single way stuff, I think a blend of a mix of both of them should be what should be the best approach. Like having the core labor laws, like talking about minimum wage and working hours, those should remain in the exclusive list, while other laws are state specific, depending on the areas of operations, those ones should be able to be put in a concurrent list. That way the state government could amend and make their own specific regional based laws that could have and help production. So I think a mix of the both is what would be the best approach.
On the Profile Interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the Chairman Senate Committee on Labor, Employment and Productivity, Senator Plank Duquette. He brings us up to speed on activities of the National Assembly as regards workers' welfare and social protection. Take a listen. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you so much.
A lot has been happening in the world of work, and you're the Chairman Senate Committee on Labor and Productivity. Can you bring us up to speed what it has been like serving as the Chairman of this committee?
I am a senator representing the good people of Plateau Central Senatorial District. And by the special grace of God, I'm the Chairman Senate Committee on Employment, Labor and Productivity, and the Vice Chairman Senate Committee on Federal Character. Now, the portfolio of my office is about a section of Nigerians that carries a very large sector of the country, employee, and not just public employees or public employers, both public and private sector employers. It deals with the employer and the employee, and it's more about the welfare, the safety, and the social protection of the Nigerian worker, whether in private or in the public service of our dear country, Nigeria. The responsibilities are high because as a legislator, I don't just have the job of appropriation and lawmaking. I have a job or a responsibility of oversight. Whatever is appropriated, whatever the law tells, I must ensure that the system operates in accordance to the laws establishing the place and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Fundamental human right of individuals, a right to talk, a right to communicate, to express himself, the protection of his life is in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Then you come back to the Parliamentary Act establishing the organizations or the public sector that are after you. for me, in labor and productivity and employment, and also have a way of understanding their operations and listening to them too. We know our laws and laws are dynamic. Find out how productive are our laws in terms of the mission of the various organizations, whether the law is making them, is helping them to succeed in the mission of the MDAs. And as I told you, the world is dynamic, our laws are dynamic. Wherever we find there's a need to repeal and then reenact a law that will suit and make the system productive, we have the responsibilities. And this can only be understood when there's a close relationship between we, the lawmakers, the legislators, and the administrative staff who are members of the executive. When we relate, we get to know, and we watch their books to find out whether they're meeting up targets too.
Naturally, when a law is about to be passed, we know that there's the stage whereby you would have a public hearing. And there are different stakeholders that are expected to come over to have that conversation on and put in their inputs before a final decision is made. Personally, as a journalist, my observation is we do not have many stakeholders coming together to lend their voice. So I would like to ask you, what would be your message to Nigerians, especially when it comes to bills that would affect them? What would be your expectations from workers and also citizens as well?
Nigerian sector are well represented by professional bodies. You have the Nigerian Society of Engineers, you have the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, you have resident doctors and associations, you have Nigerian Society of Mining Engineers, you have health workers associations, you have different associations, bodies. Most times, as you rightly said, a bill undergoes about 4 stages or 5 stages. A proposed bill undergoes the first reading, it goes to the second reading, and is committed to the committee, relevant committee. The relevant committee now go for public hearing. After public hearing, it comes back to the Senate for the third reading. When it passes the third reading, it goes to the president or governor who will ascend it into law. Now, at the position of public hearing, the area of concentration is on individuals, related government departments and parastatals, and the related associations. If the bill is a bill to repeal a law establishing a university, we want to upgrade the university, just the one I did, upgrading the University of Mine, Institute of Mine, to Federal University of Mining and Technology, JOS. What we will now do is that NUC should be around. When NUC is around, it means the university authorities around. You invite National Institute of Miners, engineers, invite different academicians to attend. And you had, when these people, and you also write, there are those who will not come, but they will send in their opinions. They will send in their opinion, whether by writing. They can send in their opinion to the committee. Normally, the public hearing is advertised. It is placed on not less than 3 national dailies, both electronic and print. So there is sufficient communication, apart from the fact that there will be handwritten invitation to most of the relevant bodies. And some may not make it, but they will communicate. So I want to tell you that, yeah, you may not see too many people on the door of public hearing, but I want to assure you that there are so many interested bodies that will write their opinion as regards the law that is about to be made. But again, I would like to encourage that the law is for Nigerians, and the law has a way of affecting Nigerians, and is encouraged. We should encourage the Nigerian public to participate in no small measure in bringing in relevant contributions that they feel that needs to be contributed for a law that at the end of the day will be expected the Nigerians should respect and operate by it. If we don't do it and we have brilliant ideas and it's not communicated, it will affect the productivity or the purpose for which the law is established. So it's encouraging that Nigerians should have keen interest in ensuring that they contribute whenever public hearings are on place on a law that has to do with execution of government responsibilities.
Talking about law, the minimum wage law was recently assented to by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Before we talk about the implementation, which many people are actually expectant, can we discuss about that conversation that has been on even before now, which talks about anything that has to do with labor laws should be moved from exclusive to concurrent lists? And what's the position of the House at the moment?
Naturally, you would naturally wish that minimum wage laws should not be on the exclusive legislative list, but it would be good for it to be in the concurrent list. The minimum wage is supposed to be about what an employer should be able to pay his employees. And if somebody would want to make a decision on what he can afford to pay, I think it should be best left for the man that does the employment. When the decision to have a minimum wage is met at a federal level, are you getting what I'm trying to say? And you are asking someone to pay his workers a certain amount of money, he might know his capacity. But again, for the purpose of protection, because one time when he's left down there, probably there might, if it is left for every state to decide the minimum wage of their workers, probably we might not be very humane enough. But otherwise, the decision of the payment of the people employed should solely rest on the employer. You can't sit here and decide what a private company will be paying his staff. But as I said, but again, it's good for you to guide and say, please, we have a minimum level. Don't go below this. You can go above, but don't go below. So sometimes it's left at the exclusively for the purpose of protection and for the purpose of having a general status for all the employers that, please, this is the minimum, but don't go below. You can go above. You are at will to go, at liberty to go above, but don't go below.
Still talking about welfare, if we agree that there's a lot more that needs to be done than paying much more attention to what the minimum salary a worker should earn should be, there's this issue of social protection. There's this issue of having social services for not just the working people, even for those that would have probably retired. NSITF is under your jurisdiction. In the next couple of few months or years, what should workers be expecting from this parastatal?
The Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund, it's a fund raised for the social protection of the worker in terms of probably hazard and any casualty that takes place while on work or on his way to work. While on work, it compensates. But most Nigerians do not know. But in the couple of years to come or days to come, we're going to intensify the registration, compliance and registration of both private and public sector to register their employers. because it will go a long way to provide support for any staff, any day suffers any misfortune. We would work on that. And I want to assure you that all the listed compensations and responsibilities of NSITF, I want to assure you that people will need to know how much they are performing. You were in Lagos, you saw even a woman that the husband was drowned in an oil company during work, and she was only pregnant. But NSITF have to come and pick the child that was delivered after the death of the father, paid all the fees, took care of the child up to the age of 21, from primary to tertiary institutions, and giving allowances to the family. People need to know that it happens. You know, Nigerians, in most cases, we don't trust what is happening. But I think we have a responsibility of educating. We have a responsibility of ensuring that that law which stipulates the registration and compliance of remittance to NSITF by all registered private and public employers is respected and is adhered to, while the responsibility of NSITF would be seen down at time T without delay. So I think we will come across those ones. We do also know that NSITF has been around for over 40 years. You know, it translates from National Provident Fund and so on to what it is now. And some of the laws are obsolete. We would work on the laws and make sure the laws give sufficient power to the operators of NSITF so that remittance will be maximized and ensure that compensations are done adequately and on time.
So finally, in charge of labor employment, we know unemployment is the order of the day, not just in Nigeria, it's a global thing. Can an average youth be hopeful that there will be an employment opportunity going forward? Or is there a particular area you want to recommend that they should focus on?
If you look at the exponential increase in population of Nigerians, and you look at the exodus of graduates from tertiary institutions and other schools around, you'll all know that it's not possible for all people graduating to be employed. I think we need to change our attitude towards work. We need to change the psyche of our youths from the beginning. That yes, we open up your brain to discover yourself. When you discover who you are, you can provide, you can go into practicing or establishing what you read, and you become a provider of employment. You read agriculture in the university. After reading agriculture, you have the knowledge of agriculture for most Nigerians from our family backgrounds, and you go to school. You also read agriculture. You should be capable of establishing an agricultural outfit. You have the knowledge, you have the exposure, and the system should be in such a way that it should favor you.
So are there policies that your committee is looking out for that would encourage this space?
But I feel that our university curriculum or our tertiary school curriculum, or even from the secondary school, we should encourage entrepreneurship, and government should bring policies that will favor people that are going into entrepreneurship. There should be more of curriculum at the lower level to expose Nigerians on the viability of establishing even after school. But if people graduate and they think you need to come to Abuja and get a job, and this Abuja cannot carry all, the ministers cannot carry all the graduates from the various universities, we'll get it wrong. I think that is my own policies that will favor entrepreneurship. policies that will be that would encourage the younger ones after school to desire to go into private sector and provide employment for others.
Thank you very much for your time. And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.
Stay ahead with the biggest news stories. Go beyond the news headlines. Experience impactful investigations.